USA Network is an American basic cable and satellite television channel that is owned by the NBC Universal Cable division of NBC Universal, itself a subsidiary of Comcast. Once a minor player in basic cable, the network has steadily gained popularity due to its original programming. USA also broadcasts syndicated reruns of current and former network television series and theatrically released feature films, as well as limited sports programming. As of February 2015, USA is available to approximately 96.3 million pay television households in the United States. History: Paramount and Universal Ownership. USA Network originally launched on September 22, 1977 as the Madison Square Garden Network. The network was founded by cable provider UA Columbia Cablevision and K. Koplovitz. The channel was one of the first national cable television channels, using satellite delivery as opposed to microwave relay to distribute its programming to cable systems. Initially, the network ran a mix of college and less well-known professional sports, similar to those found during the early years of ESPN. The channel began its broadcast day after 5 p.m. Eastern Time on weekdays and 12 p.m. Eastern Time on weekends. On April 9, 1980, the channel changed its name to USA Network after the ownership structure was reorganized under a joint operating agreement by UA Columbia and the then MCA Inc. Universal City Studios. That fall, USA began signing on at 12 p.m. Eastern Time on weekdays. It also added some talk shows and a children's program called Calliope to its schedule. Sports programming began airing at 5 p.m. Eastern Time weekdays, and aired all day on weekends. In the fall of 1981, USA began its daily programming at 6 a.m. Eastern Time, with talk shows and children's programs running until 12 p.m., sports airing from 12 p.m. onward during weekends and until 3 p.m. weekdays, talk shows from 300 to 6 p.m. weekdays, and sports airing again after 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Later, in 1982, Time Inc. and Gulf Plus Western's Paramount Pictures unit would buy stakes in the venture. MCA, Universal and Paramount would become the sole owners of the channel in 1987. In the fall of 1982, USA began operating on a 24-hour-a-day schedule, running a mix of talk shows, a children's program, and a low-budget movie from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. The channel began running a mix of 1960s and 1970s Hanna-Barbera cartoons each weekday evening from 600 to 7 p.m. as part of the USA Cartoon Express block, with sports programming airing after 7 p.m., which were rebroadcast during the overnight hours. Weekends featured a mix of movies, some older drama series and talk shows during the morning hours, and sports during the afternoons and evenings. Overnights consisted of old low-budget films and film shorts, and music as part of a show called Night Flight. Between 1984 and 1986, USA began shifting away from sports programming, and began focusing on general entertainment programs not found on broadcast stations, including some less common network drama series and cartoons. One tradition on USA was an afternoon lineup of game show reruns mixed in with several original low-budget productions that aired over the years. It began in October 1984 with reruns of The Gong Show and Make Me Laugh. In September 1985, the network began airing a revival of the mid-1970s game show Jackpot. Two more original game shows, Love Me Not, and a revival of the short-lived 1980 series Chain Reaction, were added in September 1986. More shows were progressively added soon afterwards, such as The Joker's Wild, Tic-Tac-Toe, Press Your Luck, High Rollers and Hollywood Squares, along with Wipeout, Face the Music and Name That Tune. In June 1987, the channel debuted another original game show, Bumper Stumpers. When it began, the game show block ran for an hour, but expanded significantly the following year. By 1989, the network ran game shows Monday through Fridays from 1200 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. In January 1989, USA debuted USA Up All Night, a showcase of low-budget feature films that aired as part of its weekend overnight schedule. Up All Night became a cult favorite among viewers for the comedic wraparound segments that were usually shown during breaks leading into commercials, and between films that were hosted by comedian Gilbert Gottfried and model, actress Rhonda Shear. The program was discontinued in March 7, 1998, however late-night movie telecasts on USA continued to be branded under the Up All Night banner until 2002. Short news updates, branded as USA Updates, were shown from as early as 1989 until 2000. These segments were first produced out of KYW-TV in Philadelphia, owing to the fact that the station had already produced a number of syndicated news services, and Steve Bell, the former newsreader on Good Morning America, was employed as a primary anchor at the station. However, when KYW's news operations were heavily revamped in response to falling ratings in 1991, production of USA Updates was then taken over by the All News Channel. The ANC-produced updates continued through 2000. USA Network has not carried any news programming since the news updates were discontinued. The tradition of game show reruns continued into the 1990s with the $25,000 and $100,000 pyramids. The early 1990s revivals of The Joker's Wild and Tic-Tac-Toe, as well as other well-known shows such as Scrabble, Sale of the Century, Talk About, and Caesar's Challenge. Additionally, two more original game shows were added in June 1994. Free for All and Quicksilver. In September 1991, the block was reduced to 3 hours, from 200 to 5 p.m. Eastern. However, an additional hour was added in March 1993. In November 1994, the game show block was cut back to only 2 hours, from 200 to 4 p.m. On September 24, 1992, USA launched a sister network, the Sci-Fi Channel, focusing on science fiction series and films. In September 1993, USA adopted a new on-air look centering on the slogan, "The remote stopped here," with flat graphics suggesting a television, cameras in lens, symbols and music consisting of electric guitar and synthesized noises. USA Network's ownership in 1994, Paramount Pictures' parent Paramount Communications was sold to Viacom. The following year, MCA was acquired by Seagram. In April 1996, Viacom, which also owned MTV Networks, launched a new classic television network, called TV Land. MCA subsequently sued Viacom for breach of contract, claiming that it had violated a non-compete clause in its joint venture agreement with MCA. A judge presiding over the case sided with MCA, and Viacom subsequently sold its stake in USA and the Sci-Fi Channel to Seagram for $1.7 billion. In turn, Seagram sold a controlling interest in the networks to Barry Diller in February 1998, which led to the creation of USA Networks, Inc. The company also merged the cable channels with Diller's existing television properties, including the Home Shopping Network and its broadcasting unit, Silver King Broadcasting. In October 1995, the network dropped the entire game show block. It was replaced with a block called USA Live, which carried reruns of Love Connection and The People's Court, with live hosted wraparound segments between shows. That block was dropped by 1997. In 1994, USA began simulcasting the upstart business news channel Bloomberg Information station TV each weekday morning from 500 to 8 a.m. Eastern and Pacific Time. In 2004, the Bloomberg simulcast moved to E!, where it ran until 2007. In July 1996, the network unveiled a new on-air appearance, which included the introduction of a new logo and a three-note jingle. Network IDs, feature presentation intros for movies and promo graphics were based around a behind-the-scenes look at the fictional USA studios. Some of the IDs showed people in the control room, while a studio that was being set up by a crew was the backdrop for the Tonight menu that displayed the evening's schedule. Opening sequences leading into movie telecasts showed people running through the USA Studios film vault. The new look coincided with a shift in focus, more towards off-network reruns and original programming. Game shows and court shows were dropped from the schedule, while cartoons were phased out. USA Studios also became the branding for USA-produced programming at this point. In September 1996, USA replaced the USA Cartoon Express with the action-oriented children's block, USA Action Extreme Team. The channel discontinued its animation block outright in September 1998, and replaced it with a block called USAM, which advertised itself as primetime comedy in the morning. The block mainly featured sitcoms originally aired on network television that were cancelled before making it to 100 episodes. However, for a time, the block also included the 1989 to 1994 episodes of the Bob Saget run of America's Funniest Home Videos. USAM was discontinued in 2001. By that point, the only sitcoms airing on USA were daytime and late-night reruns of Martin and overnight airings of Living Single, Cheers and Wings, with drama series and movies populating much of the channel's daytime and primetime schedule. In 2000, USA Networks bought Canadian media company North American Television, Inc., owner of cable television channels Trio and News World International. Vivendi ownership. In 2001, USA Networks sold its non-shopping television and film assets and Studios USA to Vivendi Universal USA, and the other channels were folded into Vivendi's Universal Television Group. In November 2002, the channel debuted Monk, which became one of USA Network's first breakout hit series, the comedy-drama police procedural that starred Tony Shalhoub as Adrian Monk, a former San Francisco police inspector turned consultant who suffers from various obsessive-compulsive behaviors that include the ability to pay attention to detail when solving crimes. Ran for 8 seasons until it ended on December 4, 2009. NBC Universal Ownership. In 2003, NBC agreed to acquire an 80% ownership interest in Vivendi Universal's North American-based filmed entertainment assets, including Universal Pictures and Universal Television Group, in a multi-billion-dollar purchase, renaming the merged company NBC Universal. NBC Universal officially took over as owner of USA and its sibling cable channels in 2004. That year, USA premiered the sci-fi series The 4400. In 2006, USA premiered Psych, a comedy drama focusing on Sean Spencer, a man with a photographic memory and learned observational skills who claims he is psychic after being falsely accused as an accomplice in a series of murders, and opens up a detective agency with childhood friend Burton Guster as an unwitting partner. The series ran for 8 seasons until it ended in March 2014. On May 13, 2007, NBC Universal announced that new episodes of Law & Order: Criminal Intent would be moved to USA, beginning with the drama's 7th season in the fall of 2007. Episodes would then be re-aired later in the season on NBC, most likely to shore up any programming holes created by the cancellation of a failed new series. Although this is not the first time a broadcast series has moved to cable, it marks the first time that a series which moved its first-run episodes from broadcast to cable television would continue to air episodes on the broadcast network while it was still a first-run program. On December 7, 2007, it was announced that USA Network would continue broadcasting first-run episodes of Wwe Raw until 2010. The USA original series Burn Notice, starring Jeffrey Donovan as Michael Weston, a dismissed spy who becomes an unlicensed private investigator, also made its debut in 2007. In 2008, USA announced a new original series In Plain Sight, starring Mary McCormack, focusing on a United States Marshal working for the Witness Protection Program. The series debuted on June 1 of that year, and became USA's highest-rated series premiere since the 2006 debut of Psych, with 5.3 million viewers. In early 2009, USA Network acquired the network television rights for 24 recent and upcoming Universal Pictures films for $200 million. Among the films included in the deal were Milk, Frost, Nixon, Duplicity, State of Play, Land of the Lost and Funny People. By January 2009, the highest-rated drama on USA Network was House, surpassing both Law & Order, Special Victims Unit and Law & Order, Criminal Intent, along with In Plain Sight, Monk and NCIS. In 2010, USA Network, which had been airing its original series on Friday and Sunday evenings for several years, began to move its original series earlier into the work week. After the 2009-10 season break, Burn Notice resumed airing the remainder of its third season on Thursdays in the spring of 2010. White Collar moved to Tuesdays for the second half of its first season, while Psych moved from its longtime Friday night slot to Wednesdays. In 2011, control and majority ownership of then-parent NBC Universal passed from General Electric to Comcast. Comcast would purchase GE's stock in NBCU 2 years later. Programming. USA Network has achieved a viewership foothold with its original programming. This began in the 1990s with initial hits such as Silk Stockings and La Femme Nikita, which were gradually followed in the following 2 decades by series such as Monk, Psych, White Collar, Suits, Burn Notice and Royal Pains. Most of its original series are scripted dramas, some of which incorporate comedic elements. In addition to its original productions, the network airs syndicated reruns of current and former network series such as Law & Order, Special Victims Unit, Law & Order, Criminal Intent and NCIS. The network also broadcasts a variety of films from the Universal Studios library and select films from other movie studios, airing primarily as part of its overnight and weekend schedule, and occasionally during prime time on nights when original programming or marathons of its acquired programs are not scheduled. Since 1984, the network has been a longtime home of the Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show. USA is also the home of World Wrestling Entertainment's flagship cable program Wwe Raw. The series originally aired on the channel from its debut in January 1993 until the series moved to TNN in September 2000. Before returning to the channel in October 2005. Sports programming. USA Network has a long-standing history with sports, dating back to its existence as the Madison Square Garden Network. The network carried Major League Baseball games on Thursday nights from 1979 to 1983, and the NHL on USA ran from 1979 to 1985. College football on USA ran from 1980 to 1986, and its telecast of the 1981 Liberty Bowl was the first college bowl game to be exclusively broadcast on cable television. The NBA on USA also aired from 1979 to 1984, the first time that the NBA had a cable television partner. For 17 years from 1981 to 1998, USA aired a weekly boxing show, USA Tuesday Night Fights, which showcased bouts featuring up-and-coming boxers. Tennis on USA aired professional tournaments in the United States from 1984 to 2008, and was the longtime cable home of the US Open before its cable television rights moved to ESPN2 and the Tennis Channel in 2009. The PGA Tour on USA covered the opening 2 rounds of the Masters tournament from 1982 to 2007, Ryder Cup matches from 1989 to 2010, and various other events. Upon the 2004 purchase of Vivendi Universal by NBC, USA's sports division was immediately merged into NBC Sports. Since 2004, the network has broadcast select events from the Olympic Games, as a part of an expansion of NBC Universal's broadcast rights to the Summer and Winter Olympics that allowed several of the company's cable channels rights to telecast Olympic events live. USA Network also carried games from the International Ice Hockey Federation in 2006 and 2010. During the 2014 Winter Olympics, USA aired English Premier League soccer matches in lieu of sister channel NBCSN, due to that channel's full devotion to carrying coverage of Olympic events. After ratings success with those matches, USA began to air mid-afternoon Saturday games weekly during the 2015-16 season. USA also participates in NBC Sports' broader effort of carrying all 10 Survival Sunday matches across its numerous channels the second week of May, each year. Starting in 2015, USA Network became used as an overflow feed for coverage of NHL playoff games that cannot be aired by either NBCSN or CNBC. High Definition. USA Network operates a high-definition simulcast feed of the channel, that broadcasts in the 1080i resolution format. The HD, which was launched on October 3, 2007, is currently available on all major cable providers.